Hello, everybody, and good morning. It is Emily from Claim Brilliance, and I have been up this morning doing some thinking and some learning like I usually do, and I am really excited to share this message with you because I think it's really important. So, when we argue with reality, we cause stress and anxiety, depression, and all sorts of negative, unwanted emotions. And it's really important that we learn to breathe into what we think we perceive as reality. And really, this is where write and burns and let go techniques and different set free techniques come into play, because what the whole point is to let go of the emotion so that you can view the reality through a different filter. What is our filter? Our filter consists of what we perceive as reality, how we view life through a lens. Like you put on a pair of like rose-colored sunglasses, then everything has a pink or red hue. And when we can take off or lessen the filter, we then can see the reality. I want to give an example. So in my life, I have shared multiple times that I have dealt with not anxiety, but depression and things that like weight and other what I perceived as problems or struggles. So I'm just going to use the weight. So I perceived the weight as a problem. And why did I do that? Because I had on a pair of glasses that said, a filter that said, you are not your worth is dependent on your weight, or you're not smart enough. So your worth is dependent on how much you know. And the problem with this filter is it doesn't matter what you do, it's never going to be good enough. I want to say it again. What you do is never going to be good enough until you can fix or change the filter in which you perceive things. You project, right? Like we have projection. We project our opinions. We project our biases on certain things, certain people, certain situations. And when we can stop and really question that perception, then we can fix it more easily. If we can just let go of the emotion involved, aka let go techniques, write and burns, throwing rocks, all the different tools that coaches usually have in their tool belt, as well as therapists and different people. Their whole point in helping you in giving you these techniques is to help you to change or see things differently. So let's continue with the weight thing. The reality is, or was, I'll use my highest weight. The reality was that I was 230 pounds, like three pounds off of 230 pounds at my highest weight. And my perception was that I wasn't good enough. My perception was that things weren't fair. My perception was that it was hard and I couldn't change. The reality is that it's just a number. It's what I perceive that number to mean that makes it good or bad. So what's the difference between where I am currently and where I was? When I change the way that I view project my feelings, my thoughts, my limiting beliefs, when you change those, you can then come into reality and say, the reality is that I'm not at my optimal health and I want to be. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Do I love myself enough to let go of the struggle? Because what is, if a person gets into a car accident, this is my son, had been in 2 car accidents within a month. And he, I'm sure all sorts of things went through his head, like, my parents are going to kill me. I can't believe this happened again. But then when we got there, the reality was that we didn't care. Like, it was just like, well, it's done. What are you going to do? Yell at them? My daughter was in an accident as well. Not her fault, but was still in an accident. And she was shaken up and super stressed because she had been in both of those other 2 car accidents. But she was freaking out because she was the driver and she's like, my parents are going to kill me. And like, I can't believe this happened and blah, blah, blah. But it did happen. The reality is it did happen. Was it good or bad? I mean, it wasn't optimal. When Daniel, our son, crashed the second car, it wasn't optimal. We had to figure it out. But being in stress and being in a sense of panic and being in a sense of this reality sucks and it's no good, and it's almost like we go into this fight, freeze, where it's like tragedy happens, when the reality is what is. It happened. And getting upset about it isn't going to change it. And stress causes things to not happen because of chemical reactions within our bodies. Make it so that our head isn't clear, so that the pathway isn't clear, so that things are more complicated, and depression and anxiety hit. And so depression, let me just explain a few things. Depression is from backstories, like things shouldn't have happened that did happen, and you live those stories from the past. And anxiety is a future projection of tragedy, bad things that could happen, and your brain perceives as reality that you can't change. So when you come into alignment and just start realizing that what is, then you can start forward thinking and saying, okay, I'm not satisfied with X, Y, or Z, my weight. So what can I do to change it? And when you change the belief, the limiting belief, and all of your excuses, I have heard so many excuses like, it's my genetics, it's my hormones, I've tried everything and nothing works. Those are all filters that we perceive things, but the reality is that if one person can do it, this is one that I used to say is, my body is unique. Things that work for other people don't work for me. And your subconscious is super powerful. And so that was what I was telling myself. And my subconscious was like, okay, that's the direction she wants to go. Keep the weight, keep the problem, keep the issue. She wants to, that's the direction we want to go. And the reality is, my body is no different from anybody else's body. Yes, your genetics play a role. Yes, there are different things that do play a role. Don't live in denial, but also know that you can change your genetics. Alcoholism runs in my family, but I'm not an alcoholic. You can change your reality. You can change your genetic code. You can change your genetic code. Anyways, so our perceived projected reality needs to be questioned. And when you can question your reality and you can say, okay, what is, and how can I make it better? That is when we can truly change. So the car accident wasn't my fault, but how I reacted to it. If I would have come to my son and my daughter and been super stressed out and like chewed them out, they already were freaking out. They were already, how would that have made it better? How would it have made it better? And so the other day, another example, the other day, we're renting, so we were cleaning the house because we were having a walkthrough. And the night before the walkthrough, my daughter was messing with the vacuum and nicked the corner and the plaster fell off of the wall. And my first reaction was going to be, oh crap. And then, okay, what is. Like, it was just like okay, oh crap, this is the worst thing ever. And then reality was able to come in and say, okay, what is. The reality is that the plaster is off the wall. I know how to fix that. It's not a big deal. Will it be discolored? Yeah, because it's plaster. But it's okay. Like, I was able to see the solution a lot faster because I've been working on my perceptions. Because I have been working on my perceptions, I could see clearly this isn't the end of the world. It's okay. And what was beautiful about that situation was my daughter, who was like, Mom, I need to talk to you. She was freaking out inside. And my husband was with me. And later we were talking and she was like, I really appreciated that you didn't freak out with the plaster, with the corner of the thing, because I could tell that it influenced me and it influenced Dad and how we reacted when you were really calm and you were just like, it's no big deal. It's okay. Like, everything, it's okay. We can fix it. And so when stuff happens, being able to question and being able to say, okay, my knee-jerk reaction is to be upset, but then to question and breathe into like, okay, the reality is X, Y, and Z happened. In the long run, is it going to matter? In a month, is it going to matter? The answer is no. In a month, it is what is. And the beautiful thing is, again, you can think clearly. We are solution-oriented individuals. We came from God, who is creative, and a solution, like, he creates solutions. He's like, okay, I want my children to be able to have bodies. What's the solution? The solution is go and create a world for them. That was his solution. But had he said, oh crap, like, what am I going to do? I really want my children to be able to have bodies and to experience life. What am I going to do? I don't know how to do that. He didn't do that. He said, okay, I want X, Y, and Z. What is the solution? And because we come from that, we came from him, we're created in his image, we too are creators of our reality. So, take a breath. When stuff happens, the knee-jerk reaction is going to come up because it takes practice. But calm yourself down and breathe into it and say, what is the reality? And is this thing that's happening really bad, or is it just a solution? Like, do we just need to think through a solution? And of course, there's harder things than other things. We went through a bankruptcy, and that was really hard. But, excuse me, was it? Was it really hard? When we were going through it, it was really hard. And of course, our minds go to like worst case scenarios, right? But then going through that bankruptcy wasn't as bad as what we thought it would be. And that's what our brains like to do, is catastrophize. I've heard it called catastrophize, and I love that because our brains do catastrophize, like worst case scenario. But when we can breathe into reality, know that your knee-jerk reaction, know that your perceived, what you project onto it, is never actually the reality. The reality is that we can breathe into what happens, and what happens for a reason. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know. Why Daniel and Carissa crashed our cars, I don't know. But is it that big of a deal? I mean, it's been a few months now since the Carissa's accident. And guess what? We have another car, or actually we don't. Like, we had 3 cars and now we're down to 2 cars. And the reality is we're okay. I mean, Daniel, he got into the accidents and crashed both of our cars. And the reality was we didn't have a car. So we found a solution, and now it doesn't even, it doesn't even matter. I mean, our insurance is up and stuff, but I mean, the reality is that it's okay. It's okay. And so when you can question your perception of the events that happen and breathe into it, you can then think clearer about the solution. All right. I love you guys and hope you find value in this, and I will talk to you later. Bye.